I've been neglecting MLB for a while now. Haven't talked baseball in a good minute, since the World Series actually. I feel like today's a good day to do so. Albeit nothing really exciting's happened, let's be real with each other. Jose Siri to the Mets is fun enough. He hits some bombs, he plays an elite center field, but there's also the whole he strikes out maybe like 7 out of 10 at bats. The Juan Soto free agency is going exactly how every Scott Boras free agency period has gone. There's no offers made for him, and no team is clearly in the lead. You don't know the number that he's looking for, and every team thinks they're in the mix right now for Juan Soto. Every team being the Mets, the Yankees, and the Dodgers, I believe, are the three-headed snake looking for Soto's services. Of course, the big one that I didn't talk about in my last free agency video because he wasn't posted yet, it's Roki Sasaki's free agency. Of course, Japanese sensation, throws over 100 miles an hour every other pitch, it feels like. He can usually hit over 100. He's got great velo. He's got a great splitter. He's a real nasty pitcher. You saw him in the World Baseball Classic a few years ago. He's getting better. Well, not statistically. If you look at his stats in Japan, he's actually kind of plateaued, maybe even gotten a little bit worse, but it also comes with him aging and still trying to learn how to work at bats and stuff like that. He's still young. Everyone you would expect that would decline their qualifying offers. That includes a list of, I'm reading off it, Willy Adames, Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Teoscar Hernandez, Sean Manaea, Nick Pivetta, Anthony Santander, Luis Severino, Juan Soto, Christian Walker, and the only one that really did was Nick Martinez, which I'm surprised with. I know, what do you get paid? 1 year, $20 million, I believe. That's pretty good, for Nick Martinez. But I wasn't sure if he was going to opt for the 1 year, $20 million cash out, or was he going to be a guy that wanted a long-term extension? Nick Martinez had a pretty underrated year for the Reds. The Angels want to bring over Tomoyuki Sugano. That's his name. Yeah, I think I got that one right. He's about 35, like a really old Japanese pitcher that hasn't come over to the States yet. He's a 2-time winner of their equivalent of the Cy Young Award. He's a great pitcher, it seems like. However, like I said, he's 35. And the Angels already brought in Kyle Hendricks and Travis d'Arnaud. Why do they want the elderly? Why do they only want elderly players? They want to surround Mike Trout with vets, even though Mike Trout's kind of a vet now. You know what? I don't get the Angel strategy. You brought in Hendricks. Now you want to bring in another 35-year-old starter. I don't know, man. They got Booger Sugar Ron running the show over there. It's a wild, wild time for Angels fans. I'm not sure how this free agency period is going to go. We always talk about how the big dominoes need to fall first in MLB free agency because they always do. With how long it took guys like Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell to sign, and then they obviously didn't have the best years because, they weren't able to work out with the team, So I don't know if players are still going to want to do that wait and see thing, because somebody like Jordan Montgomery, although he's getting paid this year, don't get me wrong, he is very much not wanted where he's currently getting paid. Like an hour before I started recording this, Eli Morgan got traded to the Cubs. People were going to say that that's going to be the Cubs closer. No, it's not. It's going to be Hodge, I believe his name is. He's pretty good. And Eli Morgan is a good middle relief guy. Eli Morgan had a great year, just above what was expected, what his expected numbers say. And like I said, people think he's going to be a closer. He's not. He doesn't have the fastball velo. He sits at like 93, man. That's just not closer stuff anymore. Sorry. Another report was that the Yankees are, quote, in on everyone, which makes sense. They obviously have holes in their roster since the World Series has ended. People like Joe Kelly, of all people, have come out talking about how the Yankees don't have any defense, blah, 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 all that type of stuff. Yeah, obviously. But, again, I'm not sure who everyone is with the Yankees. If they sign Juan Soto, if the Yankees manage to keep Juan Soto, who does everyone mean on the free agent market? Does that mean Alex Bregman? Because if you bring in Alex Bregman, then you can kick Jazz over to second. But the issue with that is that Bregman's looking for an 11-year deal. He's 30. He's looking for like 11 years, 300, I'm seeing. That's not a contract I'd be willing to pay him. He's 30. He seems like he's kind of turning into a Crawford box merchant. And of course, there's a short porch in left field in Yankee Stadium, but I don't know. It feels weird. Of course, the Yankees have been able to sign guys that they've kind of not vilified, but they played against seriously in the past. You think about, I think about a guy like Wade Boggs, who played for Tampa and stuff like that, and I think Boston as well, and he was able to come to the Yankees seamlessly. But again, like I said, for that dollar amount that Bregman and his agents are looking for, I don't know if I'm willing to pay him that $300, but like I said, if the Yankees are desperate, which I kind of think they are, because, it's clear that they need some upgrades in their roster, then I think you would have to go after third base or some type of infield help. I mean, some other news you got, Manager of the Year and Rookie of the Year got announced. Rookie of the Year was Luis Heel in the AL, and then in the NL, it was Paul Skeens, which that's a tough one. That's a tough argument still, and I think that one's going to live for as long as those guys' careers go. Between Merrill, Churio, and Skeens, they were all incredible this season, and Skeens definitely deserved it. None of them didn't deserve to be there. The AL one was kind of loose, I can't lie. Like, if you dropped Jackson Merrill in the AL and kept his stats the same, it'd be a wash. He'd blow out the rest of the competition, but because Paul Skeens was so unbelievable, it's kind of a tough spot. And then Stephen Vogt and Pat Murphy won Manager of the Year in the AL and NL. Stephen Vogt was great. You know, inexperienced manager coming into a team that, if I'm being honest, I didn't have high expectations for, simply because I didn't think they had the hitting. And then their pitching was obviously pretty shallow. We even saw that in the playoffs. Their pitching was really shallow. But the way that he was able to maneuver his bullpen, as well as get good production out of some guys that, you know, I'm not saying you didn't know would produce, but you had a really great year out of Stephen Kwan and a bounce back. You know, Jose Ramirez had 40-40 basically. Josh Naylor gave you good production. You know, so he definitely deserves it. Votey had a really good year this year, and while the Guardians did get, sorry Guardians fans, the ability to beat up on the White Sox, which they didn't. I think they were one of the teams that finished like 500 against the White Sox, but they kind of got the benefit of playing against a weak division. But at the end of the day, you still have to win those games in front of you, and Vogt did a really good job, like I said, managing his bullpen and stuff like that. You know, he came in and got a team to the playoffs that I wasn't sure if they'd make the playoffs. And then Pat Murphy did the exact same thing. Dude, you will not be able to see my preseason predictions. I'll be doing those next year as well. Around spring training, I'll do my predictions for the season and stuff like that. And I had the Brewers in 4th place in my video when I did it last year. Yeah, they kind of defied all expectations. I viewed them as a seller at the midseason point. They did not do that. They kind of pseudo-bought, I don't know. They didn't do a lot at the midseason point, but they definitely weren't sellers. They were leading their division by a healthy margin. They blew away their division, and Pat was a big reason behind that. Obviously, now they're in a tough spot because, like I said, they got to bring back Willy Adames, but they're not the type to give big contracts like that. So, you know, I'm not sure where that's going to go, but a guy like Adames is very valuable and was very key to their team's success. He had over 100 RBIs this year. You know, the only downside you're going to get with him is a lot of strikeouts. But with how that team's developing, well, the young guys they got, Terang, Ortiz, Perkins, you know, you got a bunch of young guys out there that are really, really talented. And Churio, obviously, is the captain of that. I mean, he's a rookie phenom. And then you stack on a guy like, you know, a Willy Adames and a William Contreras in that lineup. Those two are like established good players. Obviously, you're going to put together a good team. It's just I didn't know the rookies were going to produce last year. And Pat Murphy was a big reason behind that, obviously. You know, player development and putting players in the right position to succeed is huge in player development in general. And Pat Murphy was behind that. Of course, the Brewers organization always puts together some magic winning seasons. I don't know how they do it. They win every season despite paying like $10 million for the roster. Really good at that. You know, like they got weird contributions in the pitching rotation from like Tobias Myers was really good there. In the back end of the bullpen, Trevor McGill led their team in saves. You know, so they got good production out of guys that you didn't expect to get good production out of. So, you know, Pat Murphy, again, like I said, is behind that. So congratulations to both of them. They were really good managers this year. They won their divisions when I wasn't sure either one of them would even be near or sniffing the playoffs. So, I mean, that's the biggest props you can give. I didn't even talk about the other side of that Cubs-Guardians deal. The Guardians got Alphonsine Rosario. Very unfamiliar with him. And as a part of that deal as well, the Cubs DFA'd Pat Wisdom. I think a team might take a chance on him. I'm not sure. Really not sure. The Red Sox signed Sebi Zavala to a minor league deal. Sebi Zavala is pretty bad, I can't lie. Rockies re-signed Jacob Stallings. He had actually a pretty sneaky alright year with the Rockies. It's just, I'm not sure. No one ever knows what they're going to be doing. And then, of course, you have like the Rays now playing in the Yankees Steinbrenner Field or whatever. You know, that's pretty cool, I guess. Somebody like Anthony Santander's free agency I find very amusing. I'd say he gets somewhere around 80 to 90 million, 4 years, somewhere around there. It's a pretty good sized deal Tony Taters is going to get, but he deserves it. He had 45 home runs or whatever last year. He was incredible. A couple of teams I could see making a play for him. Maybe you'll get like the Yankees in on him because they need more hitting, especially from the lefties. And Tater's the switch hitter, but he bangs the lefty. And then you also have a team like maybe Toronto that buys in. They need outfield help, but I've also seen Toronto might look for Teoscar Hernandez again, who's been really good in the past. Or AL East teams are buying this offseason, I'll say. Like, even the Rays have poked their head into the Juan Soto sweepstakes. I don't think that's real at all, but the Rays have kind of poked their head in there. And then you see a team like Detroit, which obviously not AL East, but Detroit's even shown that they're willing to spend money, which another one I'm just not sure about. You should see how your young players finish or start next season before you buy. You know, they did it with Javi Baez a few years ago, where they thought that their young team was ready to take a step forward. All they needed was a shortstop. So they signed Javi Baez. Obviously, Javi Baez regressed into one of the worst shortstops in baseball, and the Tigers kind of sucked for the few years after that. So you have to see if these young players are going to long-term pan out before you just start blindly buying and saying, yeah, we have young players, we got to start buying around them. You got to know if the young guys are good first. So I'm saying I'm not fully sold on Detroit. They had a really good second half of the season, but I don't know. I'm not ultra confident. Yes, you have a very great manager, maybe one of the best in baseball in Hinchey, but I don't know. I don't see this team being the same success story that they were last year. They won 86 games, I think. Yeah, 86 games. I don't know if they're going to do that again. Obviously, a team like the Twins might sell. I don't know what you're going to get out of Minnesota. But again, back to the AL East, you'll see a team like Boston poking their head around. They're poking their head around a lot of pitchers. They looked at Max Fried, and they looked at Blake Snell, and I think their best probable piece is a guy like, obviously, I think they'd rather have Blake Snell, in my opinion. I like Max Fried, don't get me wrong, but he's kind of become more pitch to contact and in a hitter-friendly-ish ballpark in Boston. I don't know if a lefty's going to fare well there. I don't know. But either way, they're both lefties. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I just think I'd rather have Snell if I was Boston because he relies more on strikeouts than soft contact, especially because your fielding isn't really good either. Think about it. Your third baseman is one of the worst defensive third basemen in baseball. I like Rafi Devers, but his defense is bottom barrel, right? So do you really want a pitch-to-contact guy, you know, a pitch-to-contact lefty who's going to be pulling the ball at Devers or hitting soft ground balls at Devers and making him charge for it? I don't know if I want that. So I might just take Snell as a higher strikeout guy. Of course, Snell is more volatile. You know, he walks a ton of people, and that's a dangerous game. But I still just think I'd rather have the high strikeout guy than the high contact guy. In the NL, obviously, you have the Mets poking their head around everybody, bro. They're showing everybody interest, it seems, but especially Juan Soto. They're really in on Juan Soto, and Steve Cohen's the richest owner in baseball. You hear that all the time. So, of course, it would make sense for them to start buying and buying and buying. But I'd watch out for Washington as well. Washington is also in the same boat as Detroit, kind of, except they missed the playoffs. They won 71 games last year. I'm looking at it right now. And you'd see, like, Dylan Cruz is there, James Wood is there, C.J. Abrams is there. Who's their other center fielder that played really good last year? It's not coming to me. Luis Garcia had a great season. So you might see them start to poke around and talk to free agents, big-time free agents. They're another team I think could use the help of Anthony Santander. Their hitting was sporadic, but if you can get a big homer guy like Anthony Santander, that'd be great. Or somehow they can BS their way into Juan Soto. I doubt that that's going to happen either. But they've shown that they want to poke their head around a little bit and make some noise in free agency, get some hitting, because their pitching is starting to come around, kind of. You just need guys that can make noise in the lineup. And Wood, Cruz, Abrams, Garcia, great start, but you need a couple more stars out there. I think Andres Chaparro was getting good looks last year with them, so you might need a first baseman as well. Of course, the one that would make me the most mad is if Soto signed with the Dodgers, or if Roki Sasaki signs with the Dodgers. Let's be honest, the Dodgers don't really need that much more help. I mean, obviously they can get more help, and you can always use more pitching and hitting in baseball, but that's one of those teams that, like, you don't see many holes in their shit. You know, like Tommy Edman took a step up and started playing really well for them. Come on, bro. And then there's a couple of more guys that you look at and you're like, I don't know. Do they really need that? You know, they bring in a Juan Soto. They might win 6 World Series in the next 10 years. It's ridiculous. So, you know, I think teams and players need to be very weary of the Dodgers. Max Fried is taking calls with the Dodgers or whatever because he's from California. Another one where it's like, oh, God, do they need more pitching? Yeah, they do because they all get hurt. But at the same time, all their pitchers came back for the playoffs, and they ended up rounding out well. Apparently, the Braves are in on Walker Buehler, speaking of Dodgers and pitching. The Braves being in on Walker Buehler is definitely interesting because the Braves have a history of taking careers who are kind of tailing off and making them explode better, or injury-prone pitchers specifically. Somebody like Chris Sale goes there and has great seasons, or Reynaldo Lopez has a great season. He comes out of the bullpen and has a great year as a starter for the Braves. So they've shown that they can fix pitchers. Hell, they've gotten great production in the past from guys like Ian Anderson, Mike Soroka, guys who aren't striving now, but at one time they were getting good production out of them. The Braves have a good way of developing pitchers, so it'd be interesting to see them get Walker Buehler. I feel like he'd return almost to like Cy Young candidacy if the Braves were to get their hands on him. There are a few teams in on Ha-Sung Kim. I feel like that's a free agent I didn't talk about in my last video. Ha-Sung Kim is coming off a big injury, so of course teams might be a little bit more weary. But he's a great defensive shortstop. He captains the middle of the infield. Really, really good as an infielder and as a shortstop. So a team might show interest in him. He's a WAR demon. He puts up WAR whenever he plays a healthy season. And he's a decent enough hitter. If you get him in a big ballpark, I feel like he'd be even more valuable because there's more space to dink and dunk his slap singles with. And then he's got good speed on the base paths too. But obviously his biggest calling card is being maybe the best shortstop defender in baseball right now, at least in the top 5. Like guys like Anthony Volpe still come to mind, but Ha-Sung Kim is one of the best at the shortstop position right now. I could see many teams in the race for him. It's just him coming off an injury is a little scary. Speaking of coming off an injury that's really scary, Shane Bieber has gotten some interest from some teams, and Shane Bieber's a guy who I could see having a big bounce back season next year or the year after, because they always say year after a big injury is not the year, it's the one after that, because you get a full off season to train and you're healthy and you can trust that part that you just got the surgery on again. So I could see Shane Bieber getting a ton of interest this offseason, maybe a 1+1 deal with a team. Ideally for Shane Bieber's sake, it's a team like, maybe even like a team like the Braves takes a chance on him, an injured starter that they bring in and pull an I can fix them type moment. I could very well see the Braves maybe be in on him, but he's a guy who has a Nittany. A Nittany? I don't know. Nittany Lions? Not Penn State. You don't want to get touched there. I mean, you don't want to go there. Let's get back on track. I'm losing my mind. Shane Bieber, though, good pitcher. It's just coming off a really big injury. He might not get the interest in the market that you're looking for, but a team can definitely snag a diet ace if you land Shane Bieber. I don't think he's an ace, but I think he'll be a guy that, as a number 2 or a number 3, you can't ask for much better than him. I'm about to lose my mind. I was looking at MLB trade news, or not trade news, but just MLB rumors in general, and I'm seeing this article from Newsweek. I want to see the jackass that published this nonsense. It just says published by, it doesn't say a name. There's no name attached to it. Matt Musico, a contributing sports writer. Jackass. He proposed a trade where the Cardinals received Jason Dominguez, and the Yankees received Nolan Arenado, Lars Nootbaar, and Ryan Fernandez. Get out of here with that nonsense, bro. I don't want Nolan Arenado anywhere near the Yankees. All right, he's regressing. He's old. The Yankees always take a chance on old players, and a lot of the times it blows up in our faces, i.e. Anthony Rizzo down the stretch, DJ LeMahieu. We've given countless chances to DJ LeMahieu, even though he's old and beyond washed. And then I think back to them bringing in Josh Donaldson. Josh Donaldson was not showing any signs of real regression, hard regression, before he got to the Yankees. Suddenly he gets to the Yankees and he's a shell of himself, So I do not want Nolan Arenado. Lars Nootbaar does kind of interest me as a lefty bat, and he can play a good center field. But if the whole thing is giving up Jason Dominguez to get a guy on the back half of his career, and then a guy who you're unsure about because he had a pretty injured season last year in Lars Nootbaar, I'm kind of out on that. Don't like it at all. Don't want to see that. Let me know what you think your team's going to do in free agency. Let me know some moves that you think make sense in your head. A couple of teams that I didn't obviously talk about, like I'm sorry, Pirates fans or something like that. I didn't really bring you up because I don't know who you're going to sign. Obviously, they're bargain bin hunters. The Pirates might be a Shane Bieber team. They're a team that likes to buy low. And then, of course, you have Skeens and Jared Jones and Mitch Keller in that rotation already. You could really round that out and make a good little staff for yourself if you bring in a guy like him, and he shouldn't be too expensive. So maybe they will spend, but I don't know. Let me know what you think your team's going to do down in the comments. Like, comment, share, sub. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to catch the game. See you guys in the next one.